Oh yeah, is it Monday already? Okay, chat. The Acolyte streaming numbers and Skeleton Crew numbers, all the Disney Plus numbers have come out from 2024, and it's kind of shocking where these numbers are at. We got to talk about this. Also, Skeleton Crew getting a second season. We finally got an update on that from one of the actors from the show. We got a lot of news to get into and not a lot of time. Obi-Wan Kenobi coming to Ahsoka Season 2. I know, that sounds like I've said that before, but it's because somebody else is reporting on it now too. We got a crazy amount of news today. Crazy amount of news. And of course, only about 2 hours to get to all of it. So without further ado, let's dive into all of it. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing on this fine Monday afternoon? Okay, I don't even know where to start here, chat. The Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka Season 2 and/or Season 2. We got a lot to talk about. So honestly, I'm going to let you guys pick where we start today. I think the Acolyte's probably the best spot to start, but we got a lot of news. And it's kind of all over the place. Positive news, negative news, whatever you want to talk about, we're going to talk about it. So I know the Acolyte's a very shaky topic, but we're talking about it quite a bit today. And first things first, let's say hi to everybody in the chat, shall we? All right, let's do this. Safari Tano, what is up? Vic Hone, how we doing? 50 Thunder, what is up? Star Wars Order in the house. WUV Grad, how we doing? Justin in the house. Brandon Baker, what is up? Holly, how we doing? Fearless, what is up? Freddie, how we doing? Mike, great name, by the way. What is up? Your pal Joe in the house. Rebel Sith, how we doing? Entertainment Fan, how we doing? Chris, what is up? You guys know the deal. If I missed you, just yell at me in the chat. Let's give everybody a nice little...
Hello there.
General Kenobi.
Okay, so I think the best spot to start out at is the Acolyte, and I see a bunch of you guys saying that in the chat as well. I think the Acolyte's the best spot to talk about because it's sort of the big news of the day. The numbers for Disney Plus in 2024 have been released. And it came to a shock to many fans that the Acolyte sits at number 2 for most minutes watched on Disney Plus in 2024. Honestly, not that big of a shock to me, but tell me in the chat, were you shocked by this revelation? I'm going to pull up the graph that we're looking at here today because this is coming from Luminate, which shows the streaming views of 2024. So this is all of 2024 from the, of course, beginning of the year to the end of the year. Minutes watched by millions. Keep that in mind. Okay, so here's the graph. Here's what we're looking at today. It gives you, of course, the ranking number of how many views they've watched, what season it is, when it was released, and the minutes watched through millions. Okay, millions of minutes watched. So first on the list is Percy Jackson and the Olympian. Give me a 1 into the chat if you've seen this show. This came out earlier on in the year. Actually, wait, it started to come out in 2023. So it was a really, really early 2024 project. So it had the entire year to sort of get views. But did you guys watch this show? Did any of you guys watch this? I'm going to be completely honest. I did not watch this show. I heard about it, obviously. It was a very big hit when it was being released all the way back at the beginning of 2024. But I never watched it. And clearly, a lot of people did. This is a little confusing because it says 3,070, but that's 3,070 million minutes watched, which is 3 billion minutes watched. So 3 billion minutes watched for Percy Jackson, which is pretty wild. And that show is getting a second season. Second on the list is The Acolyte. Now, I know we're going to talk about The Acolyte today. I know a lot of people have very, very strong opinions about this show one way or another. Whether they really, really liked it like myself or they really, really hated it. And that seemed to be the conflict online and a big reason as to why it was canceled for a second season. Not the only reason, okay? There's multiple reasons as to why it got canceled, but one of the big ones is the divide in the Star Wars fandom. Having said that, it is still the second most watched show on Disney Plus in 2024 with almost about 2.7 billion minutes watched. Now we're going to compare this, of course, to other Star Wars shows in a little bit, but this is compared to all other Disney Plus shows in 2024. Every single Disney Plus show in 2024. Or, sorry, I should say original Disney Plus show. So, moving on to number 3, actually 3, 4, 5 are all Marvel projects. Agatha All Along sits at number 3. Echo is at number 4, and Echo is another one that had the entire year to sort of get the numbers up. And X-Men 97 is this very similar, started all the way back at the beginning of the year and got the entire year to watch it. Now we're going to get into some Star Wars projects next, but I want to point out something very, very crazy about the Acolyte in its numbers. It began on June 4th, the 6th month of the year. And yes, if you are following along with your calendar, there are 12 months in the year, meaning the Acolyte really only had 6 months to put up these numbers, which is pretty wild. Pretty dang wild. But let's keep going. So after X-Men 97 in the 5 spot, you have Season 3 of The Bad Batch. And Season 3 of The Bad Batch did come out last year. It started in February 22nd, it says, of 2024. So it had pretty much the entire year to get those numbers up. And it currently sits at about 923 million minutes watched, almost 1 billion minutes watched. That's pretty good for an animated series. That's pretty damn good. You look at the only other animated series on this list, which is X-Men 97, which sort of beats it by a little bit. But The Bad Batch, you got to think about it this way, is a spinoff of a spinoff, pretty much. I mean, it's a spinoff of The Clone Wars, which is a spinoff of the prequel trilogy. And Star Wars animation never really does good numbers anyway, so I was actually pretty shocked to see that The Bad Batch sits at number 6, above Skeleton Crew. Now, before you start losing your mind going, Mike, Skeleton Crew was a big failure. There'll never be a second season. What are you talking about? How is there possibly going to be a second season? It's just the first couple episodes of Skeleton Crew. Skeleton Crew was obviously released into 2024. I believe only 4 episodes, or maybe even only 3, were released in 2024 into 2025. Only 3 episodes were released or 4 maybe in 2024. So it's only half the season. And even with that, putting up 900 million minutes watched is pretty damn impressive, having only half the season release in said year. So with that, I wonder where Skeleton Crew is going to end off. We heard from John Watts and Chris Ford that the numbers every week for Skeleton Crew went up, meaning from the premiere all the way to the finale, the numbers continued to grow for that show. Word of mouth getting around that this show's really, really good, because it was, and maybe people coming along to the idea of this Skeleton Crew series being a good one. So these numbers are only the first half of the season for Skeleton Crew, and the fact that it's still number 7 on that list is pretty damn impressive, because I can't wait to see what the entire span of the show looks like, because it could be even past the Acolyte, which would hopefully be a good sign. Especially when we're talking season 2, because numbers are numbers and numbers don't lie. If Skeleton Crew surpassed the Acolyte, surpassed Andor and all that stuff with numbers by the end of it, then it's possible that the second season that we're going to be talking about later could happen. But we'll get to it later. Okay. Number 8 on the list, and number 9 and number 10 are all Star Wars projects that weren't released in 2024. They're the only 3 projects on this list that weren't released at all in this calendar year. And before you say Percy Jackson was in 2023, the run of the show, the episodic releases, moved into 2024. So other than Percy Jackson, which started in 2023 and kept releasing into 2024, all 3 of these final 3 spots for Star Wars shows weren't even released in 2024. Keep that in mind. Number 8 is Ahsoka, Season 1, with almost 900 million minutes watched. Then Season 3 of The Mandalorian. Yes, Season 3 of The Mandalorian at 800 million minutes watched. And Season 1 of The Mandalorian with almost 700 million minutes watched. And my head's in the way, but if you look at the date for the release of The Mandalorian Season 3, it's 2019. 5 years before this. This show has been out for 5 years, and it still makes the top 10 for most views in 2024 on Disney+. which is pretty damn cool. But what shocked me in this sort of back 3 shows here was that it's season 3 and season 1, not season 2. And I know season 3 gets the most amount of hate for The Mandalorian, and season 2 is probably, in my personal opinion, the best season of The Mandalorian, but it's not on this list. Season 1 and season 3 are, but not season 2. Pretty interesting. But what we're talking about today is the Skeleton Crew and the Acolyte. The Acolyte sits at number 2 on this list. This came to a shock to many people, myself included. We haven't really gotten many numbers when it comes to the Acolyte. We haven't seen anything really when it comes to how the show performed, except for that it did poorly. That's all we kind of ever hear when it comes to the Acolyte is the negative side of things. This clearly is not a negative side of things. Sitting at number 2 amongst all Disney Plus shows in 2024 is quite impressive. Now, it's obviously canceled for a second season, but some fans out there are still holding out hope that the Acolyte's story will continue one way or another. Now, it's already continuing in book form with 2 prequel novels coming out this year, one about Indara and Venestra, and then one about Jeki and Yord. But do you think that there's any hope, and I mean any hope, that there will be a second season of the Acolyte? Tell me in the chat. Because it's very interesting. The conversation online, now that it's been almost 8, 9 months, give or take, 6, 7, 8, 9 months, since the Acolyte has released, fans have had sort of time to cool their heads, time to think about what this show is and how to sort of cool down, let's put it. Cool down. Honey Badger, what is up? Cool down about the Acolyte quite a bit. And I think a lot of fans who really liked it now almost feel comfortable talking about the fact that they liked the show. I went on a podcast yesterday. It hasn't been released yet, so I'll let you guys know when it does. But I went on a podcast yesterday, and we recorded it yesterday. And we talked about the Acolyte. And the 3 of us on the podcast all liked the Acolyte. I'm going to go full screen for this. And what was funny to me was remembering how good the Acolyte was. I almost forgot how hated it was. I forgot for a moment all the sort of negativity around the show, the fact that it had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes before it even aired, the interviews before it, the crapping on the actors and the creators of the show. I forgot about all that for a second, and I just remembered how good the show was itself. And I felt like, just for a moment, how the fuck did this show not get a second season? And I still think that now. Obviously, you bring into effect the fandom's reaction to it, the fact that it had a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, the fact that people didn't like the creators or the actors and stuff like that. And obviously, you can't have a crazy war going on in the Star Wars fandom at all times just to push out a second season of the show. I understand that. I get it. Making a second season of The Acolyte would mean all-out brawl in the Star Wars fandom part 2, because part 1 was The Acolyte season 1. I get it. But even with that in mind, I find it so hard to accept the fact that there's not going to be a second season of the show. Think about how it ended. You have one of the greatest characters ever introduced in Star Wars ever in Chimere, which, by the way, we don't even know his real name, the Stranger. We get this awesome arc of Osha turning to the dark side, and now she's going to be the Acolyte of the Sith, the Asajj Ventress to Chimere's Dooku, if you will. And you had Darth Plagueis in the cave looking out at this master and apprentice. And what that sort of entails, what that story will come, would be insane. And not only that, you have the whole Master Soul thing, the entire plot of the first season, the Jedi and their corruptedness that happens in the prequel trilogy. Corruptedness, it's a word, probably not, but I don't know. But Venestra Rose covering that up and then going to Master Yoda about it. So, with all that being said, I think we've been robbed, for people who really love that show, to not get a second season. Now, I want to know where you guys are at. How is the chat feeling today on this fine Monday afternoon, chat? Let's put up a poll. Let's put up a poll. Let's do it. I know. We haven't talked Acolyte this seriously in a long time. So let's talk about it. Do you want the Acolyte to get a second season? Yes or no? Now, we're going to pull up later in the chat whether or not we want Skeleton Crew to get a second season as well. So keep that in mind. But I want to see where you guys are at with this Acolyte show in particular. I'm just curious, of our small-ish community that we have in the Star Wars fandom, the people who love Star Wars, what are our thoughts? Star Wars Politics says, I want a second season, but not now. We need something that will unite the fans. Interesting. I kind of agree with you. I think an Acolyte Season 2 would be acceptable at some point. I mean, it's never going to come out and everybody's going to be like, yeah, Acolyte Season 2, let's go! Because there is that portion of the fandom that really, really hated the show. And that's not going to go away. But I agree with you that there's almost a need to take a step back and then come back later and finish the story. Now, you have problems like actors' ages. You don't want Manny Jacinto or Amanda Steinberg, to age too much. You don't want to have a situation where it's 10 years down the line and they're playing the characters right after season 1 ended and it's a big time jump and it looks weird and it doesn't fit right. So you obviously have that issue. But I agree with you. I think the Star Wars fandom needs something to galvanize behind. I think Skeleton Crew was almost a stepping stone towards that, but because so little people watched Skeleton Crew, it's almost like those people who were crapping on the Acolyte for no reason, they weren't crapping on the Skeleton Crew show for no reason because they didn't even watch it. That seems to be the problem. Now, Skeleton Crew was a fantastic show, and I think Andor Season 2 will be fantastic as well. So if we get 2 straight wins for Star Wars fans, and then come Star Wars Celebration, who knows what will be announced? Maybe the next animated show. Usually animated shows are beloved by most Star Wars fans who watch them because usually the haters don't even watch the animated stuff because it doesn't give them enough money for crapping on it online. So with that being said, I think we can get a bunch of wins riled up here moving into 2026, where we'll hopefully get a massive win with the return to the big screen with the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. And then at some point there, you have to think, okay, we racked up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins in a row. Let's give the fans what they want, or certain fans what they want. And that is the continuation of the Acolyte story. Because we have almost 67% right now on this poll saying, yes, they do want a second season of the Acolyte. We have almost 60 votes on it. I'll leave it up there for a while. But here's the deal. It's not like you have to be blind to not see the fact that there are Star Wars fans out there that really want a second season of this show. And it's not just like 10 people, clearly. So the fact of the matter is there's people who want to see more of those characters. There's almost no denying that episode 5 and the finale are spectacular. The lightsaber duels are fantastic. The storyline, the character development, the character arcs that each individual character go on in that story are incredible. And I want a continuation of it. I mean, I've not talked about the Acolyte for like 6 months now because of how divided it made the Star Wars fandom feel, because we had to talk about Skeleton Crew, and Skeleton Crew was awesome, and I love talking about Skeleton Crew, but we got to talk about this. We have to. There's a point where this show has to get a second season because the first season story was so good. And the characters you set up are so important. It's Darth Plagueis. It's Palpatine's master. At some point, that story has to be told. Now, maybe you go jump 50 years down the line to tell Plagueis and Palpatine's story, and I'd be fine with that too, as long as you get sort of the story of what happened with Chimere, what happened with Osha. Because there was a time there where we were predicting that Chimere could be upwards of 100 years old. Darth Plagueis is in the Acolyte? Yes. Yes, he was. Yeah. Yeah. M2G says, the Acolyte was crazy good, but I guess episode 3 was just as bad, and it was... Wait. But I guess episode 3 was just as bad, and it was pretty bad. Just have a spin-off and kill May as the only Sith. Well, May isn't. It's Osha. Not too sure. And going back to the episode 3 thing, I mean, you almost look stupid no, you do look stupid. You do look stupid if you're crapping on the show because you can't get over the fact that the witches, or you're calling these witches these lesbian witches. I mean, are you dumb? Witches have been in Star Wars for over a decade, probably over 2 decades at this point, where they've always been girls. Are we stupid? Like, the complaints about the Acolyte show were so far-fetched, so grasping at straws, that it was insane. Like, you're complaining about witches being females. You're complaining about Ki-Adi-Mundi being there, retconning a legend story, which, by the way, let me pull this up. I forgot how heated the Acolyte got me. All right, let's do this. Shout out to Fearless for sending me this one. Fearless, this is your fault. Okay, so in an interview with George Lucas, oh yeah, the George Lucas that created the whole fucking franchise, yeah, that George Lucas, he was asked about the expanded universe, or Legends. And here's what he said. Question: what do you think of the expanded universe of books? Answer: George Lucas, 2003. The books are in a different universe. I've not read any of them, and I told them when they started writing them I wouldn't read any of them, and I blocked out certain periods where they could not touch where the real story happens. So he told them that they can't tell stories in the original trilogy and in the prequel trilogy, and he will never read any of the books, and those are in a completely different universe. So for all these people who are grasping at straws, absolutely just grasping at straws to pull in Plagueis's age or Ki-Adi-Mundi's age from Legends, the guy who created the damn thing we call Star Wars doesn't even see Legends as canon. Actually, not even that. He doesn't even see it at the same frickin' universe. And with that, I got a nice comment from Carry On that says, lore breaking and terrible writing. Yeah. Find me one spot in this Acolyte show. Find me one. I've been looking for 8 months where it breaks canon, where it breaks the lore of Star Wars. Find me one. I said this when the show was coming out and nobody could, and I still haven't found it. Ki-Adi-Mundi breaks prequel canon, Disney canon. Actually, no, I won't even say it. How about Anakin says it?
Incorrect.
We just went over this. It's Legends. It's not. It's not. WUV Grad says, people got their panties in a bunch, okay, because a birthday got changed. The same birthday that was only established in, I don't know what that means. CD-ROM. I don't know what that means. Yeah. Damien says, I just believe without a YouTube male lead, they will hate any future films. A YT? I don't know what YT means. Is it not YouTube? Without a something male lead, they will hate any future films. Acolyte gave us Jedi and Sith battles. The writing could have been a little bit better, but the writing could have been a little bit better. Okay. I respect that. I respect it. Here's the deal. The issue that comes with the Acolyte, like CDs predate you. No, I know what a CD is, but I don't know what you're referring to. I do know what a CD is. I'm not that old. I mean, I'm not that young. I don't even know. Yeah. The Multiverse is Broken says, it doesn't break canon at all. Those critics are dumb. The writing just wasn't good, though. Well, again, I gotta disagree with you. What is bad about the writing? And I agree with you that obviously doesn't break canon. The show was so geniusly written. From start to finish, everything was just spot on, perfectly placed. Ki-Adi-Mundi being there is so important to the story. Like, because he's in that room, that means that nobody can find out that the Sith return. Because Ki-Adi-Mundi is a character that we know from the prequel trilogy who doesn't know that the Sith have returned. So that right there is perfectly placed character placement, sure. Because these people in this room can't find out what's going on. And that means the person standing across the room from him, Ventress, Vanestra, is going to keep it a secret, going to cover it up, blame it all on Master Soul. It's the fall of the Jedi Order. And I truly believe that the people who just completely neglect that the Jedi are the bad guys or are corrupted by the time of the prequel trilogy are just never going to like this show. Because they are. They are. The prequel trilogy Jedi allow Palpatine to rise to be the Chancellor of the Republic right in front of their stupid faces. They allow the Chosen One, who is right there, right in their order, to fall through their fingertips because they are so corrupt and so dumb. But the people who grew up on the prequel trilogy, grew up with these Jedi being their heroes, can't see that. They can't see how stupid Yoda was. They can't see how stupid Obi-Wan was because Qui-Gon was right. Dooku was right. Yeah. Mike, people don't like the show for reasons you aren't acknowledging. Tell me them. Tell me them. That's not the same as being corrupt and bad guys. What do you mean? Yeah, no, I don't mean they're the actual villains of the story, but I'm still saying that they're corrupted. Yeah. The Jedi weren't some bastion of good starting with the prequel trilogy. They got corrupted. The Acolyte was just showing the start of that corruption. Exactly. I was actually recently watching season 2 of the Clone Wars, I believe, with Samantha, and we were watching how the Mandalorian arc with Satine and Obi-Wan, where Satine is like, what happened to the Jedi Order? What happened? You were supposed to be the keepers of the peace, and now you guys are generals in a war. What happened? And she's not wrong. She's absolutely right. At some point, the Jedi were the keepers of the peace. They were people who protected the citizens of the galaxy, and then they became generals in a war. Palpatine, who played both sides of a war that he created, with the Separatists and the Clone Army, which he created with inhibitor chips in their heads. He created this war that the Jedi had to become soldiers in. He's a freaking genius. Palpatine is, there's no denying that Palpatine's a genius, but the Jedi still didn't see it. They were so corrupted by their own ignorance. Yeah. Okay, you guys keep saying the writing is what failed the show, but please tell me where the writing was bad. Robert says, the Chosen One prophecy is nonsense. Chasing a false ideal is BS, if you ask me, but that's just my personal view of it. LOL. Well, I've actually, over the last couple of weeks, I've had this conversation with a lot of different people about the Chosen One prophecy. What is the Chosen One prophecy, chat? It was just bad. Okay, you can't describe writing as bad by just saying it was just bad. Can I please get an example? But let me go back to this Chosen One thing while you type. The Chosen One is such a weird thing. Because when you look at it this way, everybody thought it was Anakin because this prophecy that the Jedi created of the Chosen One was supposed to be this guy who would bring balance to the Force. And in theory, you could say that, yes, Anakin maybe brought balance to the Force because he killed all the Jedi, leaving 2 Sith and 2 Jedi. Well, that's not the case either, because there's a lot more Jedi than just 2. I mean, Cal Kestis survived, Ahsoka survived. Well, I guess Ahsoka's no Jedi, but Kanan survived, Bail and Skull survived. All these characters survived Order 66. So even that is flawed. Then you look at it this way. What we learn in Clone Wars Season 3, when they go to Mortis, is that the real Chosen One prophecy was for Anakin to become the father, the living embodiment of the balance between the light and the dark. That was the prophecy of the Chosen One, according to the Mortis gods. So now you have 2 conflicting prophecies already. And don't even get me started on Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul, the twin sons of Tatooine, and when Maul dies, he says, is he the Chosen One? And Obi-Wan says, yes, referring to Luke frickin' Skywalker. So the Chosen One prophecy within itself is very point of view based. If you're the Jedi, you think it's a great thing for the Jedi. If you're the Mortis gods, you think it's a great thing for the Mortis gods. If you're Obi-Wan, you think it's Luke Skywalker. Yeah. Indeed. What is the topic for today's live stream? I'm thinking about talking about Star Trek today. I'm thinking about it. We're talking Acolyte, we're talking Skeleton Crew Season 2s, and streaming numbers. That is what we are talking about. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Rebel Sith says, Leslie failed to tell her intended story. I'll agree with you on that. Plagueis is not Chimere's master. Okay. She never planned... wait, she never planned this? She never planned this. That's poor writing. You saw Plagueis in the very last episode of this show for probably 2.5 seconds. Maybe 3.5. I'm not actually quite sure on that. But Leslie Headland has said time and time again that she had intentions and plans for a second season. So the reason that maybe that's considered poor writing, because Plagueis only shows up in the final seconds of the show, is because there was plans for more story. It's like ending the Clone Wars after the first season. If the Clone Wars animated series was only one season, it would suck. People would not look back at it as one of the greatest shows of all time, because it wasn't. The first season is all filler arcs. It's all just pretty much the Clone Wars movie in TV form. But it's season 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 that really make it the Clone Wars, the most legendary show in animation of all time. But if you just canceled it after the first season and not continued to tell the story, you'd never get more Ahsoka. You'd never get Maul's return. You wouldn't get any of the Mandalorian arcs. You wouldn't get any of that. It's like canceling the Mandalorian season 1, or canceling the Mandalorian after one season. You wouldn't get Bo-Katan coming to live action. You wouldn't get Ahsoka Tano coming to live action. We would never know Grogu's name, and you wouldn't see Luke's return. You wouldn't get the Book of Boba Fett. You wouldn't get Ahsoka. You wouldn't get Skeleton Crew. You wouldn't get any of this because it would have been canceled. Now, obviously, talking about The Mandalorian in its context or in its actual story is different than The Acolyte. I like The Mandalorian Season 1 more than I like The Acolyte. But regardless of the story, regardless of any of that, if you cancel a show after one season when it has an intended second season, and without giving the story room to breathe, you're immediately going to make it look dumb. You leave so many unanswered questions at the end of that Acolyte's first season. And you would have done the same with The Mandalorian Season 1. Imagine The Mandalorian Season 1 ends, as it did, with the Darksaber being revealed to be in Moff Gideon's possession, Moff Gideon having survived the fight at the end of Season 1. Sorry. Grogu never receiving his name. How about Boba Fett's feet walking towards Fennec Shand in the sand on Tatooine? Fennec Shand in the sand on Tatooine. Imagine all those open-ended questions, all those crazy cliffhangers never answered because the second season got canceled and we never got any more story after that. It's the case with every multi-season show of all time. The first season is usually, probably 90% of the time, never the best season. Ever. The Clone Wars, Rebels, The Bad Batch, Mando. And those are just Star Wars examples. Most other shows as well don't hit their stride until season 2, 3, 4, whatever, how many seasons they go off. Yeah. Okay. As you say, the difference is The Mandalorian was a great show. There are people, myself included, who think that The Acolyte was a great show. This is all just a subjective opinion-based thing. I think teasing Plagueis at the beginning of the episode was bad writing. We were left waiting all episode for more of him, and it never came. Should have been at the very end. Okay, well, you're teasing him at the end of the series for more in season 2. The reason I had to tease Plagueis there is because they left the planet. Plagueis, as important as he is and how important he would be to a second season of The Acolyte, is not important to the first season. Not at all. He has nothing to do with the first season. Yeah. Justin says, as a fan who was not a fan of season 1, I think the show's problem was that it should have been a movie instead. The writing was not bad. It just need to be stretched out longer. Interesting. I kind of like that take. I kind of like that take a lot. Should The Acolyte have been a movie? Maybe. It could have been. It definitely could have been. If The Acolyte was a movie where you get the big twist of Chimere being Chimere's at the beginning of the movie, then you get the big twist of him being the villain of the movie, you get the twist of Vanestra pinning it all on Soul, it would be a great movie. From start to finish, it would be a great movie. You set up a second movie with Plagueis and Yoda and all that stuff. It might have worked better as a movie. Yeah. Star Wars Politics says, Disney obviously thought it wasn't good enough. Let's put it that way. Would Disney have thrown that much money into a show like this, given the budget to make these incredible lightsaber duels and characters and sets and all this stuff, if they didn't think it was good enough? It would have been cut before it was even created. They obviously thought it was good enough to be made a show. They just didn't expect the fandom's reaction. It was a civil war for like 7 weeks in the community. People just absolutely shitting on this show day in and day out for 7 straight weeks. You can't continue a story after that. So the cancellation of The Acolyte, although I really want a second season and I didn't want that to happen, it makes sense. You can't have a fandom that's that divided on something. However, like you mentioned earlier in this stream, you might have to wait who knows how many years, but for just people to calm down. People to just maybe go rewatch it, rethink their lives. So much of the Acolyte's hate came from people just expecting it to fail, expecting it to retcon something. Everybody was screaming for week in and week out, this is going to retcon the prequel trilogy. This will retcon the prequel trilogy. And it never did. They were just mad because of the possibility of it doing so. But the writing was so good that they towed the line. They walked the fence. They walked the balance beam across the Jedi never finding out that the Sith exist and the Sith being around. And the possibility of that actually working was so insane to people that they were writing articles, this will retcon the prequel trilogy. This is going to retcon the prequel trilogy, which it never did because the writing was so good. Because they towed that line perfectly. But the complaints throughout the entire series was that it was going to. And when it never did, those people disappeared. Yeah. I hated Soul so much. What an ass. Well, I think you hated Soul because of the arc that his character went on. And that's just good writing. You hate the character because of what he did. Yeah. Trap says, why didn't he save both of them? I don't know. He had a connection to one of them, not both. Soul was very Qui-Gon-esque. And when you think about Qui-Gon, Qui-Gon's the one who saw the flaws in the Jedi Order. And maybe he was one of those flaws. Yeah. Trevor says, so many people quit after the first 2 or 3 episodes, yet complained every single week after, having no clue what the rest of the show was about. True. Absolutely true, Trevor. You are spot on there. It's funny because they really, really hated that 3rd episode because of the witches. Which, I mean, witches have been around in Star Wars. They're pretty much just telling us that they've never watched Star Wars before. Or never watched the Clone Wars, at least. Or don't know Star Wars. And then episode 5 comes around, which, I mean, I'm sure 99.9% of you will agree is the best lightsaber duels, lightsaber sequences we've had since 2005. And it was too late already. They'd already gone. They've already found their thing to complain about. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many. They've already found it. They didn't need to watch the rest of the show. They didn't even care. They already found what they wanted to complain about, and they were going to complain about it for the next 7 weeks. The Bad Batch is a great show. I'll agree with you there. See, the Bad Batch season 1 and season 2 to me were good. They were good. They weren't great. They were good. They weren't bad. They were definitely good. But season 3 really, really, really brought it home. In season 3, The Bad Batch to me is probably the 3rd best season of animated Star Wars television behind behind Rebels season 4 and season 3. I think it's probably tied with Clone Wars season 7 for me, but I don't know. It's 3 or 4. And that's very, very difficult to do. Like, Bad Batch season 3 was so good that it's just like a top tier season of Star Wars television. And what's right on topic with this discussion we're having right now is the third season of the Bad Batch doesn't work without the first 2 seasons. So although the first 2 seasons to me weren't as good as the third season isn't that good without the first 2 seasons, without Tech's death in season 2, without the introduction and explanation and character development of these characters. Crosshair's redemption arc, Omega's arc that she went through all the 3 seasons, all these different characters going through these crazy arcs. That's what makes season 3 so good. So what if, in some alternate reality there's a season 3 of The Acolyte that's better than or as good as the Bad Batch season 3 because the first 2 seasons established that and made that so. It's like giving up without a chance, you know? The Bad Batch season 3 is so good because of those first 2 seasons. You could even make the argument about Ahsoka. The Ahsoka series is so good because of what came before. You have attachments to those Rebels crew. You have attachments to Anakin, Ahsoka, Thrawn, all those characters. And that's what makes the show good. Can we all agree it should get a second season, just not now? I can agree with that, but I can guarantee you that not all of us can agree with that. Yeah. Mike, but Mando season 3 was horrible. I disagree with that too. Mando season 3 to me is definitely the weakest season of The Mandalorian, but that doesn't make it a bad season. It's just that season 2 in particular is so good that it's hard to sort of one-up that. I think The Mandalorian season 3 does one thing and one thing very, very well, and that is close the never-ending story, I guess, puts an end to the never-ending story of the Mandalorians in their home world. It's the arc that's been around since season 2 of the Clone Wars that's been going on for a decade plus, and it finally came to an end with them reclaiming their home world, uniting all the Mandalorians together. This arc that started a long, long time ago with Satine and the Death Watch. Yeah. Your point is that it doesn't always get better with more seasons. That's true. But the point of The Mandalorian is still that season 2 is better than season 1. Yes, there's obviously examples of it doesn't get better with more seasons. In an outside Star Wars world, I guess you could look at like Game of Thrones. Now, that's kind of an iffy argument because obviously the more seasons it had 8, and seasons 4, 5, 6, 7 are all incredible. But season 8 has a drop off at the end. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. 66, nice, order 66 of you guys say yes right now on this poll. The Acolyte should get a second season. I'm going to leave it up there for a little bit longer. Let's go back to the graph for a second here. Let's go back to our graph and let's compare it to some Mando numbers, okay? So this is obviously just shows in the 2024 calendar year on Disney+. So this is it. Just from the end of 2023 to the beginning of to the end of 2024, just one calendar year of content. And this is the list. Acolyte at number 2. And Star Wars still dominates the list with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 10 being Star Wars shows, which is pretty great. But you got the Acolyte at number 2 with 2.7 billion. Bad Batch Season 3, Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, Mando, and Mando. Again, that Mando Season 3 is still a shocker to me, that is so high. But Skeleton Crew is also a shocker because only half the season was released at that point. Okay, well, let's go to the next thing. And that is The Mandalorian versus this. So this article, as you can see, is from April 2nd, 2022. This is a 3-year-old, almost 3-year-old article because it's about the numbers from The Mandalorian Season 1 and Season 2 and the Book of Boba Fett. So let's take a look at this. A new study of Disney Plus streaming numbers by The Hollywood Reporter showcases the immense popularity of the Star Wars live-action shows that they have on the platform. The outlet analyzed in detail viewing numbers provided by Nielsen, so Nielsen numbers, and showed that both live-action series for Disney Plus and Marvel are untouchable in terms of minutes watched by the subscribers, with The Mandalorian being the king of all kings. So on the launch on December 12th, 2019, Disney Plus was only available in North America and the Netherlands. And then a week later, it opened up to Australia, New Zealand, Puerto Rico, and etc. The Mandalorian started streaming on the platform on the 12th and aired its 8th episode of season 1 over the next 7 weeks. By the end of that run, Disney Plus had 26.5 million subscribers. Keep that in mind because the number gets a lot bigger. And the show amassed a 5.42 billion minutes of viewing time. Furthermore, the week of the finale airing, the show collected 1.15 million minutes watched in 1 week. So here's the deal. When you compare The Acolyte to the shows that came out last year, it's top 2. When you compare it to a show as massive as The Mandalorian, it's nowhere close. Like in 1 week, The Mandalorian's first season is half the views of The Acolytes in 6 months. Now, the entire series amassed 5.4 billion, which is double, exactly double almost, The Acolyte. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. The Mandalorian's obviously a way more popular show than The Acolyte. Like, that's as clear as day. That's why The Mandalorian's getting a movie and The Acolyte's not getting a second season. Clearly. And this is clearly why the Mandalorian did continue. This is why the Mandoverse that we talk about so much exists. This is why we got the Book of Boba Fett. This is why we got Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew. We're getting a Mando movie. We're getting 2 Mando movies. It's because this success. If this first season wasn't the massive success that it was, we would not be looking at the future of the Mandoverse era as it is today. Well, let's keep reading. These numbers are even more impressive once you take a closer look at them. Season 1 of The Mandalorian was 224 minutes long, including all credits for all episodes, divvying up the 5.4 billion minutes watched. That means by The Mandalorian's 324 minutes. That gives 16.73 million, means that 16.73 million people watched all of season 1, which amounts to 63% of all Disney Plus subscribers. Think about this. 16 million people watched the entire season. 16 million of the only 26.5 million subscribers on the platform. So 63% of subscribers at the time watched the show. That's crazy. But let's keep going. In 2020, the year during which Disney Plus launched in Western and Central Europe, India, and South America, both seasons of The Mandalorian were streamed for 14.5 billion minutes. Now, this obviously is a big number, but that is both seasons, season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian. The peak came during the week 8 in season 2 aired. That's Luke Skywalker showing up, of course, when 8.4 billion minutes of the whole series were viewed on the platform. So not just the finale, but the whole series in 1 week. Luke Skywalker showed up. People got excited. It's really hard to compare anything to this hype. Like, you got to sort of remember how crazy it was. This hype is the reason I made this channel in the first place. Luke Skywalker showing up, it was like the biggest thing ever. And it's what caused me to make a YouTube channel about Star Wars. The hype here was insane. Everybody and their grandparents and their dogs were watching this Mandalorian show. And it's still, to this day, the most streamed of any Star Wars or any Disney Plus series. And that doesn't, I mean, that's why it's coming to the movie theaters. And that's also why I predict that this Mando and Grogu movie is going to make well over $2 billion. It might be the highest grossing Star Wars film of all time. You got to think of the pull that this show actually has, and remember the hype that it has because of Grogu, obviously, because of Baby Yoda, whatever you want to call it. But that alone is going to make it an easy billion. If the movie's good itself, which I think it will be, it might make well over $2 billion. But let's keep going. No season of any of Marvel series show tops the viewing numbers of The Mandalorian. The only one that came close was Loki, which collected 5.23 billion minutes watched during its 6-week run. Loki is spectacular. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Season 2 in particular is amazing. But again, Season 1 was awesome, just like The Acolyte. And Season 2 was even better than Season 1. There you go. Yeah. Well, let's go to this chart that I wanted to get to here. So this compares all these different shows that came out in the years of 2019 to 2021, I guess, because the Book of Boba Fett's on here. So let's take a look at this. So obviously you start off with two absolute bangs, and that is The Mandalorian Season 1 and The Mandalorian Season 2. The Mandalorian Season 2 is still the most watched by millions of views on the Disney Plus platform. WandaVision came out next, then Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which had pretty low-ish numbers, I guess, in that time period. Loki comes out. It's the biggest one for Marvel. Then Hawkeye comes out. And Hawkeye is the lowest one on this list, but the Book of Boba Fett comes back. And the Book of Boba Fett is lower than Mando Season 1, even though Boba Fett is a very legendary character in the Star Wars universe. But if you were to put the Acolyte on this list, it would be right around here at 2.7. Oh, what the hell? Go away. What are you doing? Okay. At 2.7. So where my cursor is, it would be about here. Oh, whoops, sorry, no. Right about here. So you're about halfway up The Mandalorian Season 1. You're look pretty small here next to Mando Season 2. WandaVision, you're a little more than half, about half. You're kind of close when it comes to Hawkeye, and you're a lot lower than the Book of Boba Fett. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. I'm just not. The Acolyte is nowhere close in terms of viewership numbers to these shows. Not even close. Nope, nowhere close. However, this is the early days of Star Wars Disney Plus content. The drop-off, it's not just this. It's not just the Book of Boba Fett being almost half The Mandalorian Season 2. Andor is just as low. Ahsoka's higher. It's probably around the Mando Season 1 numbers, or a little bit higher than Book of Boba Fett. But it's definitely been a lot worse as of late. So what's the issue? What's the issue, chat? Because this wasn't something that just happened this year because of the Acolyte. This has been a common occurrence since after Mando Season 2. So what happened? This was the start. Disney Plus launches, boom, huge opening for The Mandalorian. Then boom, Season 2, massive. Marvel does some shows. They do pretty damn well. And the Book of Boba Fett, lower than the first two. Kenobi was a pretty big boom, obviously because it's Kenobi and Vader. It was only 6 episodes, though. Then you have Andor, which was very low. After Andor, you had Mando 3, I believe. And then you had Ahsoka. And then you had the Acolyte, right? Okay, Jane brings up a great point. A great point. She says people must have been stuck at home or something. Yes, there was something that went down in 2020, in 2021-ish, I guess just 2020, but you know. And that was called the pandy, the pandemic that went across the entire world, keeping people inside for a long, long time. The Mandalorian Season 1 definitely benefited from that because people were stuck at home and needed something to watch. And The Mandalorian Season 2 came out in 2020. So people were stuck at home, wanted to see more of that Mandalorian, and they really did it well. So there's a lot that goes into this. These numbers, there's a lot that goes into it. But that definitely has to be one of the biggest things. People were stuck at home. They needed something to do, something to watch. And this banger of a Mandalorian show came out at that time. So people just stayed home and watched it. Yeah. So, with that being said, this graphic of the Acolyte having 2.7 billion minutes watched in just 6 months is pretty damn wild. And obviously that number is going to continue to grow. Still on Disney Plus, even though some people were concerned, or at least some people were concerned. Some people wanted it to happen. They wanted to see it be taken down from Disney Plus, but it's not. It's still on Disney Plus. So this number will continue to climb. But right now, 2.7 in the first 6 months. And hopefully that number will continue to climb. But when you look at this number versus other earlier Star Wars projects, and obviously you can tell that this was the pandy, but when you look at it even next to the Book of Boba Fett, it's like right around here. So, do with that information what you will. But The Acolyte's still the second most watched show in 2024 on Disney Plus. There's a lot that goes into it. A lot. Percy Jackson was that popular? Yeah. I mean, I remember it being that popular at the beginning of last year. I never watched it, but I remember it being like the talk of the town. Everybody was like, oh, Mike, are you watching this? All that stuff. Yeah, for sure. Lucasfilm doesn't seem to understand how social media reactions impact people's perspective of the show. Or, sorry, how people perceive the show. I think they do understand that, and that's why the Acolyte got canceled for a second season. I think they definitely understand that, and that's why it didn't get a second season. I will say, people online make money off of crapping on Star Wars. So, and that's kind of a big issue that I have no idea how you'd even start to try and solve that. But you have a lot of people who make a lot of money off of Star Wars. Some people make money off of talking positively about Star Wars. I'm not going to lie and sit here and tell you I don't. But a lot of people make money speaking negatively about Star Wars. So obviously, those people are going to find, nitpick, or come up with random stuff that doesn't even exist to crap on stuff so that they can make money. I mean, there's so many people who do it. And although it seems wrong, although it seems like it shouldn't happen, it does. And that's going to cause for people on social media, hundreds of thousands of people who follow these people who think the same way, to follow the leader. Follow the leader of the people who are telling them this show stinks, this is the issue with the show, and that's sort of the problem that they need to solve. I don't even know if it's a solvable issue. That's the problem, you know? Yeah. Yeah. The only way you can make money off of crapping on it means that there's a lot of hate to it. Yes and no. I mean, people have been making a lot of money off of crapping on Star Wars long before even Star Wars got sold to Disney. You look at the prequel trilogy, for example. A lot of critics and media sites and websites, stuff like that, they made a lot of money crapping on the prequel trilogy and getting clicks. It's all about getting the click. So you make a title that's like, Hayden Christensen can't act. Jake Lloyd is a loser. Like that stupid stuff where you're crapping on actors and crapping on the content. It gets you clicks. It gets you money. And it's the same thing that goes on now, just at a way, way, way bigger level and way bigger size, I guess. A lot more people doing it. Yeah. It's not been fixable for at least a decade. Yeah, I mean, the hate in the Star Wars community has always existed. For sure. Yeah. Don't make excuses. I'm not making excuses. I'm talking about the reality of the situation. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of Star Wars content creators who their one goal and only goal will ever to be to crap on Star Wars. and you go on their website or their YouTube channel or their Twitter account or their Instagram account or whatever it is, and you're not going to find a positive message anywhere because that positive message would lose them money. I'm not making stuff up here. This is just the reality of how the world works. Yeah. Jake Lloyd is not a loser. I know that. I was making a example of a mockery. Yes. Yeah. Every live action show of the Jedi and the Force or Legacy characters have been trash. Well, that is your opinion. I could not disagree with that more, but yeah. Let them hate. I will say, I mean, everybody should have their opinion too, or have the ability to voice their opinion, but let them hate is not really the solution here. Because you have great shows that come out like Andor, or like, I think Andor is probably the best example here. You have a show like Andor that comes out. And even though Andor is really, really good, and I'm sure many of you will agree with me that Andor is really, really good. Tell me in the chat if you agree. But that show, and people almost forget about this, but when that show was airing back in 2022, yeah, 2022, it was getting so much crap every single week. The premiere was 3 episodes. And those 3 episodes are definitely the slowest episodes of the show. They have to obviously establish this backstory with Cassian and all that stuff, set up the story. But people didn't like it. They called it and bore. They complained about there being screws, like Philip had screwdrivers and AK-47s and all. They found anything and everything to complain about when it came to that show. And honestly, it's the same thing over and over and over again with every single show that ever gets released. And obviously we're talking about The Acolyte, which is the most extreme example of this, but it's something that happens every time, except for, or at least maybe I missed it, but except for the Skeleton Crew series, which is very surprising to me. Very, very surprising to me. I did not expect that at all. Skeleton Crew comes in, and I might have missed it. Tell me if you saw any on chat, saw any online chat, but I missed if there was any sort of hate for the Skeleton Crew series online, because I didn't see it. Having said that, every other Star Wars project that came before it, The Acolyte, of course, being the biggest example of it, but Andor, Ahsoka, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, even The Mandalorian got so much crap. Even The Mandalorian Season 2, which is arguably the greatest season of all time, people said it relied too much on cameos. People didn't want to see these characters. They hated, absolutely hated the name Grogu when it was first announced. I mean, they just find something to complain about all the time. All the time. And a lot of that has to come from them making money off of it. Yeah. So there you go. There was some hate for Skeleton Crew, but mostly good or refused to watch it. Well, there you go. I didn't see any hate for Skeleton Crew, which was great. I mean, the show was awesome. It's kind of hard to hate on Jude Law in the first place, but hard to hate on kid actors anyway. Yeah. Wouldn't you prefer they channel their energy in shows like Ahsoka, though? Oh, you're talking about Lucasfilm. Yes and no. I think they got plenty of time to do both. Like Ahsoka Season 2 is already happening. I think they've got plenty of people and plenty of great creators to create an Acolyte Season 2. I watched the first 5 episodes of Skeleton Crew. Just the first 5? There's 3 more. No expectations always helps. It does help for some people, for sure. Andor was really, really good. It wasn't my favorite Disney Plus show, but it was still very good and enjoyable. I liked it a lot. That's good to hear. I liked it a lot too. I think Season 2 is going to be a lot of fun. When you think about it, there's so much story that they need to tell in Season 2 about Cassian, but about the galaxy at large. And it draws the opportunity to see some familiar faces. But even if you don't see some familiar faces, Luthen has to die, Bix has to die, Cassian has to come a long way from where we see him at the beginning of Rogue One to where we saw him at the end of Andor Season 1. Because he's like a cold-blooded killer in Rogue One with no questions about it, who knows who Galen Erso is and knows about all this stuff. But at the end of Season 1, he's not that. So he's got some character development to still do in Season 2. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You said every live action show about the Force or the legacy characters has been trashed on, not trash. Yes, I'll agree with you that. Well, I mean, just everything in general has been crapped on, but yes, you're correct. It's nearly impossible. Now, I won't say it isn't impossible, because it is possible, but it's nearly impossible for them to create a show without a legacy character or without ties to legacy characters and without ties to the Jedi and the Force. And honestly, I don't want them to do that. Like, there should be ties to all these different characters or all these different arcs or all this different lore. That's what should be happening. Yeah. Yeah. No, Bix doesn't have to die. Oh, we don't need a Rogue One ending. Well, Trevor, here's the deal. Luthen, Bix, these characters that you know and love from Andor Season 1, they're goners, okay? They are absolutely going to die in Season 2 because they're not in Rogue One. Now, is there a chance that one of them maybe could survive? Yeah, maybe. But probably not. You want a Miggs Mayfeld story? Bill Burr was incredible. He was incredible. I don't know if he should get his own show, but he could definitely show up in some other projects. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about this. Okay. Let's switch gears a little bit, just a tad, to a different second season. I'm going to end this poll about the Acolyte. We're going to talk about Skeleton Crew Season 2, because we got some news about this. So, by the way, 62% of you guys with over almost 150 votes, holy crap, 62, math is not mathing, 62% of you guys do want a second season of The Acolyte, and I would agree with that. But let's put this up. Do you want a Season 2? Or actually, how did I phrase this last one? Do you want Skeleton Crew to get a second season? Yes or no? Do you want Skeleton Crew to get a second season? Book of Boba Fett Season 2? Yes, please. I'd love a Book of Boba Fett Season 2, but even that I feel like is less likely than Skeleton Crew. Yeah. Okay. And while you Adam, what's up? And while you vote on that, let's talk about let's talk about the update for a possible second season. Let's talk about it. Star Wars Skeleton Crew Season 2 gets hopeful update from star of the show. So this says Skeleton Crew is almost done airing, which is weird because this was posted yesterday. And Skeleton Crew's been done for couple weeks now. Okay. Star Wars Skeleton Crew just finished up its first season. There you go. But fans are now wondering if this story will be a one and done story. The new Disney Plus series follows a group of kids from the secluded planet of Aten, which has no contact with the outside universe. After accidentally discovering a starship, they unintentionally trigger a flight path that sends them shooting off into hyperspace and, to them, an unknown galaxy. Honestly, we'll talk about it, but Aten has to play a big role in the future of this Mandoverse. In an exclusive with the Direct's Russell Milheim, Russ, Skeleton Crew star Ravi, the guy who plays Wim, Ravi shared his thoughts on how likely it is that the story will get continued. So this is Ravi right here, and here's what he had to say. The question was, do you think that fans should remain hopeful that maybe Season 2 will come down the line one day? And his response was this. I can only dream. I would say definitely be hopeful about it. That's reassuring. We don't even know yet, so there is really no telling, but it would be awesome. Like, who would say no to that? Come on now. We all got to fight for it. We've all got to dream it into existence. It could definitely be a possibility, and it would be amazing if there was. I'd be so excited. So he goes on to talk about it a little bit more, but obviously he doesn't know if it hasn't been greenlit. It hasn't been greenlit. And even if it was, he can't tell us. But Star Wars Celebration comes up in April of this year, and there is a whole slew of announcements that are coming our way. When you think about it, when you look at the upcoming Star Wars projects, you have Andor Season 2, Ahsoka Season 2, The Mandalorian and Grogu, and all that stuff. But what you don't have is any animated projects. After Andor and Ahsoka, you have no more live action projects. So you got to announce something. And I think Skeleton Crew Season 2 seems like a no-brainer. Maybe it wasn't the most viewed show in the world, but the most important thing was that people loved it. So it's the same conversation we were having about the Acolyte. Is it just the views that made the Acolyte be canceled? No. It's a combination of the views and the reaction that the fans had to the show. Because online, it was crapped on for quite a bit. And Skeleton Crew was not. So even though the views might not be there, the possibility for a second season is far more likely than the Acolyte, because the conversation online about the Skeleton Crew series was a far more positive one. Yeah. But let's do this. Let's keep reading. Currently, there has been no word from Disney whether or not Skeleton Crew will get a second season or not. So far, 3 out of the 5 live-action Star Wars shows have gotten renewed for a second season. So 3 out of the 5. So Kenobi's a no, and Acolyte's a no. And Book of Boba Fett's a no. Something's not adding up here. That's 3 no's. So let's do it this way. The 3 yeses are... 3 of the 5. So they're not counting The Mandalorian, maybe? I don't know. The Mandalorian got a second season. Ahsoka's getting a second season. Andor's getting a second season. And those are your 3 yeses. It's more than 5 live-action shows, no? Mando, Ahsoka, Book of Boba Fett, Acolyte, Kenobi, Skeleton Crew. That's 6. I guess they're maybe not counting Skeleton Crew. I don't know, chat. Okay, let's keep going. So it's basically a flip of the coin, is what they're saying. However, it is worth noting that in the its first week of viewership, the first 2 episodes of the series scored less than 382 million minutes watched. Comparatively speaking, that is the lowest yet for any Disney Plus Star Wars show. However, we did talk about how John Watts and Chris Ford said that every single week the numbers went up, and we haven't gotten those numbers yet. The only thing that we have in terms of numbers for Skeleton Crew is this, which proves that in its first 4-ish episodes, it got almost a billion minutes watched, 914 million. So that's more than expected. But let's go back to this article. What Star Wars character does Ravi want Wim to meet? And here's what he had to say about this. There's a lot of Star Wars characters out there, so hypothetically, who would you like to see interact with Wim one day? His response was Grogu. I mean, who doesn't want to act opposite of the great puppet named Grogu? Grogu. I've always been about this. John Watts, the director, actually mentioned this. How cool would it be if Wim ended up meeting Grogu? Let's not gloss over this for a second. John Watts brought it up to him. How cool would it be if these 2 characters met? Let's not forget how Skeleton Crew ended. Wim leaves with a lightsaber. The lightsaber that they found in Tak Renan's lair, Wim now has. And there's some fans out there that believe that Wim could eventually become a Force user and possibly even join Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple. Well, we do know that Grogu is not at the Jedi Temple because he left to go be with Din Djarin. But the possibility of those 2 characters' paths crossing, it's not out of the realm of possibility. We do have a super chat, though. Darth Plagueis lives with a very generous $5 holla. I appreciate that, Darth Plagueis. I really, really do. We were just talking about you earlier, Darth Plagueis, and how you got canceled. We'll probably never see you again. But he says both should get a second season. Much love right back to you, Darth Plagueis. And I agree with you. I do indeed. But let's keep going. I appreciate the super chats. Super chats, memberships keep the lights on over here. Oh, because I'm going to forget later on. Let me preface this. every Sunday night moving forward until Andor Season 2, we will be doing a Andor Season 1 rewatch party for members only. So if you are a member of the channel, which we are almost up to 100 members, which is insane. If you're not a member, there's a link in the description below to become a member of the People Who Love Star Wars. It's just 99 cents, the lowest tier. You get the cool badge next to your name. You get a members-only Discord, members-only live streams, and instant access to a giveaway, which, by the way, the giveaway is Thursday this week, I believe. Yeah. So there's a giveaway this week. You'll have instant access to that as well if you are a member. So every Sunday night, we are doing a watch party for Andor Season 1 in preparation for Andor Season 2. There you go. All right. But I appreciate the super chat. I really, really do. Super chats, memberships are very, very generous. All right, but let's keep going. So, Grogu, I always thought about this. The director actually mentioned how cool it would be if Wim ended up meeting Grogu. And it would be so awesome. And I was like, wow, I thought of that too. Yeah, I think we all did. But that'd be so cool. Because it was around the time, it was a little bit after Season 2 came out, I think. And so everyone was dying over Grogu. And one can only hope for something like that. It would be really awesome. I'd love to see what fans think about it. I feel like that would be awesome. I feel like fans would love this too. These 4 kids have become beloved Star Wars characters. And to see them meet Grogu will be pretty awesome. Yeah, it'll be pretty great. Yeah. Twitter neat. Can I get some good cups follow orders in the chat, please? Bum-ba. Okay. Where was I? Star Wars Politics says, happy to see the success of your channel, Mike. Good cups follow orders. I appreciate it, Star Wars Politics. I really, really do. I really, really do. Andor Season 1 has 12 episodes, so that's 12 weeks. Yes and no. We might do double up episodes. Yeah. We might. Yeah. Who else wants Grogu to finally speak? Oh, yeah. I'm sure he'll get his first words probably in the movies, if I were to guess. Yeah. What does good cups mean? So good cups follow orders. It's actually a good question for people who don't understand. I do pull out this big-ass cup every single live stream. It's actually a Rise of Skywalker Premier Cup. And clearly it's been through some things. It's all chipped and whatever because it's a good cup that follows orders. But when the Bad Batch was coming out, obviously Crosshair was saying good soldiers follow orders because of the inhibitor chip in his head. And we just kind of put a play on that at some point, and now it's just been a thing. Yeah. Yeah. Double episodes. The show starts in April. I know, but I think there's only 11 weeks, so we might have to do one. Yeah. Why don't you drink out of the popcorn box? What? What you talking about? What you talking about? Okay, let's go back to this. It's worth noting that the Mandalorian Grogu movie releases in May 22nd, 2026. That'd be the perfect place for not only Ravi's Wim to meet Grogu, but the entire cast of Skeleton Crew to be introduced to the wider audience on a big screen. After all, Dave Filoni is still setting the stage for his big Mandoverse crossover film. The characters of Skeleton Crew are part of that era and definitely deserve a spot in that in the spectacle. So, do I think that the Skeleton Crew cast will be in the Mandalorian Grogu movie? No. However, I do think that they will be in Dave Filoni's Mandoverse film. Now, will a second season of Skeleton Crew happen before that? I don't know. I think only time will tell with that. But we'll see. We shall see. All right, by the way, 88% of you guys on this poll right now do want a second season of Skeleton Crew. That's pretty wild. That's a lot more than I actually thought it was going to be. But having said that, tell me in the chat, do you want a second season? Do you want these characters from Skeleton Crew to be involved in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie, or at least in the Mando story moving forward. What do we think, chat? What do we think? Star Wars Politics says, I remember the Bad Batch Season 2 days. Good times on this channel. Politics, that was when you and Tony were pretty much the only two around. Bad Batch Season 2, that's like 2 years ago. Probably more. Yeah. How do I become a member of this channel? That's a great question, actually, and I honestly, one that's pretty hard to figure out if you don't know how to do it, I guess. So let me do a quick little demonstration. So, if you are clicked on this live stream, do a quick little, and you see my pretty little face right there. Actually, hang on, let me do this little demonstration. So, if you are clicked on this live stream, do a quick little, and you see my pretty little face right there. Actually, hang on, let me do this little demonstration. So, if you are, that's better. See, I'm smiling now. Okay. Clicked on this live stream, do a quick little, and you see my pretty little face right there. Actually, oh my God, this is like a demonstration. So, if you are, that's better. See, I'm smiling now. Okay. It's like it's Inception. It's a dream within a dream. Okay. But you click on this, you smash a freaking like. Can we smash a freaking like in this stream? Jeez. And then you click on the description of this video. And you click on the description. There's 2 links. One to a completely free Discord called The People Who Love Star Wars, where you can just talk Star Wars all day long in a Discord server. And to become a member, there's this link up here. You click that, and it takes you to this thing where you get 3 options, Padawan level, Knight level, Master level. You get this cool badge. You get cool monthly members-only Discord, all that stuff. Giveaways, and now we're doing members-only live streams and stuff like that. So you get cool little perks, and of course, you support the channel. So that's how you do it. This is how you do it. All right. All right. I want to talk about this too before we leave the Mandoverse era. I want to talk about this. So, thanks, Steve. I appreciate that quite a bit. Let's do this. Do I need to wait until my gifted membership runs out? Yeah, probably. I don't know how that works, but I'd guess so, yeah. So, we talked about last week the possibility of seeing Hayden Christensen back as Anakin, Ewan McGregor back as Obi-Wan, and Ariana Greenblatt back as young Ahsoka in Ahsoka Season 2. We also talked about the rumor of Natalie Portman being in Ahsoka Season 2 as well, which I have some news on that too. But Ewan McGregor being in Ahsoka Season 2 would imply that we're getting Clone Wars flashbacks. Well, hang on. But the rumor that we were talking about the other day came from Christian Harloff. Christian Harloff is a good source, but some people still didn't believe it because it was only just one person, only one guy saying it. So now we have a second source. Daniel RPK is now saying that Ewan McGregor is reportedly going to be in Ahsoka Season 2. So now the validity of this rumor has grown 100%. You got a second person who has a pretty good track record on board the theory, on board the rumor that Ewan McGregor will be Obi-Wan in Ahsoka Season 2. Now let's talk about this for a second. What does Obi-Wan being in Ahsoka Season 2 mean? What does this mean? Clone Wars flashbacks? How would we see Obi-Wan in Ahsoka Season 2? Now, while you tell me in the chat, I want to bring up something that nobody's really talking about. A possibility of something that would shock a lot of people, and I'm interested to know what you guys think. Okay? Let's talk about this. Is it possible? Now, hear me out. Don't just throw this away like Mike's crazy. Obi-Wan Kenobi as a Force ghost in Ahsoka Season 2. I know, it's crazy, because Alec Guinness, of course, is the Force Ghost of Obi-Wan. Would they be so crazy to change it? Tafari Tano says World Between Worlds. I don't think so. The World Between Worlds is something that needs to be not really touched much. It's supposed to be something that's very, very, elusive. So let me put it this way. Would you guys be okay with seeing Obi-Wan as a Force Ghost if it's Ewan McGregor and not Alec Guinness? I can already see the hatred coming. But tell me in the chat. What do we think? Oh, we got a new member? Oh, Holly. Welcome to the people who love Star Wars. Welcome to the people who love Star Wars, Holly, at the night level. Wow, I appreciate that quite a bit. Yeah. It's very, very generous. Memberships, super chats, keep the lights on over here. I appreciate it. I think a Force Ghost is more likely than flashbacks. Oh, Mortis flashbacks. Honestly, I disagree. I think flashbacks are far more likely, but I think it would be a shock if there was going to be a Force Ghost of Obi-Wan. I don't know how the fandom would really take that, because obviously Alec Guinness is Obi-Wan, older version of Obi-Wan, but Alec Guinness isn't around anymore, and you have Ewan McGregor, so would fans be upset about that? Here's the reality. Some fans are obviously going to be upset about it. Okay? Obviously. Interesting. Lobo brings up a great point. Sir Alec Guinness is Luke's version of Obi-Wan, not Ahsoka's. Huh. So the version of the Force Ghost that appears to the person is how the person last perceived the person? That was English. So the person who is seeing the Force Ghost is seeing what they remember the character as. So the reason that Luke sees Alec Guinness's Obi-Wan and Ahsoka would see Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan is because those are the characters as they remember them. Interesting. I kind of like that. Fans are upset about everything. Well, we made that pretty clear on this live stream. Fans can be upset about pretty much anything. Yeah. I always thought the Force Ghost thing was a nice. Force Ghosts are really interesting in Star Wars because there's no real explanation to them, or the explanation to them is very elusive. Think about Anakin. Anakin had multiple times where he could have helped out Luke, come to Luke on Arc 2, anything like that, but he didn't. And Luke, in the sequel trilogy, is able to grab physical objects as a Force Ghost. So could Obi-Wan not have helped even more in the original trilogy? I don't know. The Force Ghost thing is still very strange. When do I think Sean Levy's movie will be set? Sean Levy's movie, I don't know. I'm going to guess post-sequel world, not related to Rey, but I could see it being like Old Republic or something too. I don't know. We'll see. Except Luke didn't see Hayden Christensen as Anakin, as a Force Ghost. Anakin might be a little bit different because, as George puts it, Anakin reverts back to the last time he was with the light side of the Force, which would have been Revenge of the Sith. But I don't know. Again, a lot of this needs to be answered. Like there's too many questions about Force Ghosts and what they should look like. But let's talk about the more likely scenario here with this news of Ewan McGregor being in Ahsoka Season 2, or the rumor of it, the report of it. Is it possible that we could be getting this Mortis arc? Like, the Mortis arc is so cool and works in terms of a flashback, and not just for flashback's sake, not just for fan service sake, because it works because Ahsoka doesn't remember it. Ahsoka, Obi-Wan, Anakin, they all go to Mortis, but they all forget what happened there. All the information that they receive, Ahsoka dying and coming back to life, being brought back to life via the daughter, the living embodiment of the light side of the Force, they all forget that happened. So it's very possible that Ahsoka is going to remember somehow by maybe seeing the Mortis God statues, or maybe getting a Force vision because she feels or senses the presence of Abeloth. I don't know. Something happens that makes Ahsoka remember. Hang on, chat. Who's another character in this Mandoverse era that forgot about something? If anybody can guess off of that one hint, you get the sticker of the day. Who else in this Mandoverse forgot about something? There's a lot of content with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan. That's true, but you can't just have a flashback for no reason at all. Grogu, yes. Star Wars politics, you win of the day. Well, yes, I guess SM33 did forget about something too. True. I was thinking Grogu, though. Okay, Grogu. Grogu forgets about his Order 66 experience. Maybe he cuts it off for a reason because it's traumatic. I don't know. But you have to remember, in the Book of Boba Fett, Luke places his hand on Grogu's head, and that makes him remember. Now, is it possible that Anakin Skywalker, as a Force ghost, touches Ahsoka's head and makes her remember the Mortis arc? How crazy would that scene be? It would not only be a connection to the Book of Boba Fett, because that's established that Luke does that to Grogu, but Anakin, as a Force ghost, touching Ahsoka on the head and flashing her back to the Mortis arc, to seeing Ewan and Hayden in the Clone Wars armor of their respective characters, with the young Ahsoka as Ariana Greenblatt on Mortis, maybe even fighting the Mortis gods. Maybe she even sees that she dies and gets reincarnated by the living embodiment of the light side of the Force, the daughter. It shows the audience who hasn't watched the animated shows who the Mortis gods are, their relevance to this whole story, and it reminds Ahsoka of what happened. And it has a purpose to it. It gives a flashback a purpose. Because you can't just have a flashback for no reason. There has to be a purpose to it. What do we think, chat? What do we think? Oh, J. Dot with a very generous $10 holla. Thank you, J. Dot. I appreciate that quite a bit. Says thank you for the genuine stuffy? For the genuine stuff being... Wait, what? Hang on. Bringing us your love for the universe shows through all your content. You're the best. I appreciate that, J. Dot, even though I struggled to read it. That's very, very generous. $10 is crazy. I appreciate it quite a bit. But going back to this Mortis arc flashback, it seems like all lines are pointing to, yes, that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to go down. Ewan McGregor's coming back. Ariana Greenblatt is coming back. Hayden Christensen's coming back. Mortis flashback seems to be the only answer, because you wouldn't just have a Clone Wars flashback for no reason. And this Mortis arc has a very big reason, because the Mortis gods are right there on Peridia. And Abeloth might be involved too. Fearless says, Mike, Anakin now has the power. He has become more powerful than anybody else. So that could be very well possible. Could be. It could be. Could be that she knows that she has the daughter's essence in her, and she died not knowing that. Well, I don't know if she knows that, because they forget everything that happened on Mortis. So she might not even know that she is the living embodiment of the light side of the Force until maybe Anakin tells her that, or she sees it in a flashback. Yeah. Ahsoka is the daughter now. Anakin is the father of the World Between Worlds, overseeing everything. And I think Balin's skull will become the son. Interesting. He might release Abeloth and try to end the cycle via her. I think that's what's going to go down. I don't know if Balin will be the son, But I think that will be the majority of the plot of Ahsoka Season 2 is Baylan freeing Abeloth from that prison. Yeah. Rewatch Yoda's arc. They remember some of it. In Yoda's arc? Interesting. Are you related to Josh? Josh who? Drake and Josh? No. Josh Allen from the Buffalo Bills who lost yesterday to the Chiefs? No. Who is Josh? Josh from the Den of Nerds? Oh, Josh. No, that Josh. No, I'm not. I'm not related to Josh, but that is the first time I've ever heard that. That's pretty funny. Shout out to Josh from the Den of Nerds. I would say if you're not already subscribed to him, but I feel like you guys probably already are. Okay, can we talk about Josh for a second here? Just for a quick second. His last name is Lucas, right? And he looks like a young George Lucas. I don't, obviously. But are we really not on board the theory that Josh Lucas is related to George Lucas in some sort of way? I mean, come on. I love Josh. Josh is awesome. But there's no way he's not related to George Lucas. See, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Mike, what about the master level where there's a lightsaber, where the lightsaber's from? Yeah, so if you have a master level for a year, I'll give you a lightsaber for sure. I actually don't know. We have a few masters. I don't know how close they are to a year though. I'll have to double check. But absolutely, for sure. You support for a year like that, I will absolutely give you one. For sure. A nice one too. Probably an Art Sabers one or something like that. Or maybe even a Disney one if you want that. I don't know. We shall see. The Disney ones are cool. I got this is... it just broke something. Oh, maybe not. I mean, this is no. Yeah, this is Obi-Wan's. This is Obi-Wan's from episode Trace. Pretty badass, if I do say so myself. Yeah. There we go. Okay. What if they do Mortis flashbacks and somehow Ahsoka does something in the World Between Worlds to alter the story? Disney's way of retconning the new movies? No. It wouldn't be through the World Between Worlds. I don't think we're going to see any of the World Between Worlds no, never. Yeah. Okay. There was something else I wanted to touch on. Oh, yeah. So Natalie Portman. We talked about Natalie Portman being in Ahsoka Season 2 last week, but there's some crazy new rumors coming out about Natalie Portman and the possibility that she actually filmed a scene, but we didn't get to see it. Let's talk about this, okay? So, Star Wars reportedly removed a Natalie Portman scene from a Disney Plus show. Again, this is just a rumor, but a crazy one at that. Reportedly, Natalie Portman's return to the Star Wars universe happened in a different Star Wars show, and fans just never knew about it. From buzz that the prequel trilogy star is reprising her role as Padme in Ahsoka Season 2. Again, that's just a rumor for now. Another report claims that Natalie Portman filmed scenes for another live-action Star Wars show that got removed. Listen to this. According to the industry insider Jeff Snyder on John Rocha's The Hot Mic podcast, Natalie Portman previously shot some stuff for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show while filming for Thor: Love and Thunder. Listen to this. She previously did shoot some stuff for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show while she was working on Thor: Love and Thunder, but it didn't make the final cut, so it's too early to know. For reference, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show starring fellow prequel stars Ewan McGregor, premiered in May of 2022 on Disney Plus, while Marvel Studios' Thor: Love and Thunder came out in July of 2022. Therefore, the two productions would have had some overlap, allowing Disney to utilize the actress on both shoots. But in 2023, while Natalie Portman claimed, no one ever asked me to return, but she also said that she's open to it. So what's going on here? Actually, he goes on to say this. Apparently, she's previously did shoot some small stuff, for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show while she was working on Thor: Love and Thunder, but it didn't make the final cut, and my source wouldn't stake their life on it, that being an Ahsoka Season 2 appearance. So the source doesn't think that she'll appear in Ahsoka Season 2, but does say that she did shoot some stuff for Obi-Wan while shooting Thor: Love and Thunder. Honestly, the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, I think, is overhated. But let's talk about this. Padme's relevance to Anakin's story is obviously enormous, but to Obi-Wan's too. Like, she is one of the big three in that prequel trilogy. Her importance to that story in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series would have been a big one. So whatever this deleted scene or cut scene that they're talking about here, if it truly did exist, why would they delete that? What? So this is just a rumor for now, but it's coming from a very reliable source. And it's very strange to me that the Obi-Wan Kenobi show had a scene where Padme existed and they cut it. Now, honestly, when you look at the Obi-Wan Kenobi series now, as it's released, it's kind of something that, where would it have fit in? You know, what would it have done? I don't know. But Padme is so damn important to those two characters' stories. So anywhere would have worked. Freddie says, what's up, Mike? I'm 18 years old in 30 days. Wow, 30 days from today? Okay, cool. Tell me when it's your birthday. We'll give you a nice shout out. Yeah. Star Wars Politics says, why do they do the things that they do? I don't know. This is weird to me. Because if this is true, and they filmed the scene with Padme for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, imagine how great that would have been. So many people would have loved that. Interesting. I like that. So what if it's a possibility? No, it definitely didn't have to do with the budget. If they film something and they cut it, then they already filmed it. They already paid her for her work. Okay, so what if it was this scenario? When Obi-Wan and Leia are on that planet, Mapuzo, I think it was, and they're talking about Padme. What if that's when the flashback was? That'd be kind of cool. That would be kind of cool. It could have been something like Anakin's vision or something like that. Yeah. Do you think we'll ever see Padme and Anakin in the afterlife? No, probably not. Nicholas, what's up? Padme wasn't a Force user, so she wasn't able to do that. Yeah. And Leia, she believed that she could feel her mother. And Obi-Wan could have made sense emotional storytelling. Interesting. That could have actually solved a big plot hole that's in the original trilogy. So the original trilogy's, most of the things that the original trilogy does, like mention the Clone Wars and talk about the last time that Obi-Wan and Anakin fought, like that stuff has been cleared up. But there is one plot hole left in the original trilogy that is pretty big. And that is when Luke goes to Leia on Endor and asks her about her mom. What do you remember about your parents? And she says, I remember my mom at a very young age. No, you don't. I mean, she died when she gave birth to you. So there's no way that Leia would have remembered Padme. But what if the Obi-Wan Kenobi show was not just going to fix the holes of Anakin and Vader and Obi-Wan's last meeting, but also Padme showing up to Leia. Leia remembering when she was a child that she did see her mom once, fixing the plot hole in Return of the Jedi. Interesting. Brent, what's up? Could be. Actually, Padme had the most midichlorians at one point because she had 2 twins inside of her. Funny. I like it. Yeah. Yeah. I always assumed that she'd remember some. How can you remember something when you were born 2 minutes ago? Do you guys remember something when you were just born? I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah. It would have been cool. It would have been cool, but that's a very strange report. Natalie Portman filmed a scene for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. That's crazy. That is crazy. So Ahsoka Season 2 could be filled with some crazy stuff. Really, if Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Natalie Portman, Ariana Greenblatt, if any of these rumors turn out to be true, we could be in for quite the ride in Ahsoka Season 2. And you guys, of course, know how I feel about Ahsoka Season 1. It's my favorite show of all time. I think Ahsoka Season 2 could even be better than it. I think it has the possibility to tell a crazier story with Abeloth and the Mortis gods and Anakin as a Force ghost and Ahsoka and Sabine and Huge Wang on Peridia. I think it could be something crazy. Something absolutely crazy. Yeah. True. 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 Mike, what is your views on Star Wars fan films, and do you have a favorite? Star Wars fan films are great. You know what's... Star Wars fan films are great because it proves to you that Star Wars fans love the thing that they love so much. They're willing to spend so much money to create their own version of it. So Star Wars fan films are fantastic because even the bad ones are still good because it's such a creative sort of project and it takes so much money, so much time, so much effort. But favorite ones, well, that's tough. What I really like actually is I forget what it's called. I'm sure you guys know, but it's Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader in A New Hope, but like if it was now, like if it was technology of now, it's like revamped or whatever. I forget what it's called, but you know what I'm talking about. It's Obi-Wan versus Vader in A New Hope. It's awesome. Yeah. Other fan films, honestly, I haven't watched many. Fan films. I know there's an Obi-Wan one that's really good. Off the top of my head, I can't remember it. SC-38. Yeah, that's what it's called. That's the SC-38. Scene 38. Yeah. Yeah. You're currently making a Star Wars fan film? That's awesome. That is awesome. That is awesome. Cool. I like making what ifs. What ifs are pretty cool. I mean, they're like fan films. Not really, but they're like fan theories to an extent. And we're working on a what if right now, actually. In the Discord, we were sort of brainstorming it up together. It's what if Mace Windu killed Palpatine at the end of Revenge of the Sith when he has him confronted there. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah. I think Star Wars shows should go on ABC. Wasn't there a time where they released 1 or 2 Star Wars shows onto cable television? Was it Andor? I don't think it was Andor. Not too sure. Yeah. Sands of Fate is a great fan film. I think that's one I might have seen. There's a Maul one? Really? That's cool. Yeah. Star Wars Theory. Yeah, Star Wars Theory's Vader film is great. Yeah. You've got to watch Scene 38 Reimagined if people haven't seen it yet. Yeah, you got to watch it for sure. It was Andor. Yeah, that was weird. Andor went on to cable television. That was strange. Clone Wars was on Cartoon Network. That's true. That's true. Oh, by the way, I'm going to end this poll. Let's see. To end this poll, do you want a Skeleton Crew Season 2 with over 100 votes? 85% of you say yes. I mean, that's not that surprising. Let's be real. That's not that surprising. Yeah. As much as I would love to make a Star Wars fan film one day, it obviously costs a lot of money. I don't know what I would make it about. I have no idea. You know? Will the Acolyte get a second season? I hope so. But at this point, it seems like no. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Chad, if you had the chance to make a fan film about Star Wars, what would it be? What would it be? What would it be about? Natalie Portman in Ahsoka season 2. It's just a rumor for now, and some people seem to think it wasn't, but yeah. Rebels was on Disney XD. That's true. That's where I watched it. Yeah. That is true. Actually, hang on. Let me check something real quick. I just wanted to. Yeah, so I was on a podcast yesterday. I'm just trying to see when it comes out. I think it comes out tomorrow, but I'll keep you guys updated on the Discord on that. Yeah. Jedi Academy. Luke's Jedi Academy would be pretty good. Yeah, that would be good. Melissa says, I also think that after Leia is returned to Brea in Bail, Obi-Wan says, I wish I could tell you more. And Leia says, it's okay. You don't have to. And she looks at both of them, at her parents. She could be referring to her actual mom because she probably blows up on on Alderaan when the Death Star blows it up, but I don't know. Yeah. You were an adult when Rebels came out, right? I mean, yeah, I guess. For the most part. I was not a child, if that's what you're asking. Yeah. Yeah. Not Luke, Old Republic. Oh, Jedi Academy from Old Republic. I get you. That'd be cool. Making an Old Republic show would be crazy, though. I would make the next trilogy going forward. Well, that's 3 films, and that would be millions upon millions of dollars. I'm talking about like a small fan-made film of like 10, 20 minutes, not 3 movies of 3 hours. I'd make a fan film about Star Killer and Inquisitor, the Inquisitor who became the Jedi and sacrifices himself to save others. That'd be pretty cool. I'd like that. That's almost like Bear Asafi in Tales of the Empire, but everybody hated that. Yeah. I was working a job at Toys R Us when Rebels came out. Nice. Nice. The Darth Maul fan film is called Apprentice. I might have to check that out. The Jawas exploring the culture. That would be kind of cool because Jawas are cool because they're obviously Jawas, but they're not only on Tatooine. Like they're across the galaxy. And I'd like to see more of that. Yeah. Vader hunting down Jedi. I feel like that story's been told just so much, you know? Not just fan films, but comics, Kenobi. Vader's awesome, but I feel like I wouldn't really go that way. Fan film about Dooku's turn would be fun. That would be fun. I mean, that's kind of what Tales of the Jedi is, but yeah. Snoke's rise to power, that'd be cool. Yeah. That would be cool. All right, I do have to get on out of here, guys. This was quite the stream, if I do say so myself. I expended a lot of energy at the beginning of the stream, yelling and screaming about the Acolyte, as I tend to do. But it's just crazy to me, the whole situation. Having said that, there is hope. There is always hope. If Star Wars has taught us one thing, that's that there's always hope. And I feel like a lot of people have lost that message. But what are you going to do? Will there be a Skeleton Crew Season 2? Maybe. Will there be an Acolyte Season 2? Probably not, but maybe. Only time will tell. Star Wars Celebration's in April, and/or Season 2's in April. We got a lot of Star Wars fun stuff to do coming up. What ifs I'm making right now. Like I said, the what if about Mace Windu killing Palpatine. It's coming along great. The script is being written right now. Start filming it this week and hopefully get it out to you guys by next weekend or maybe the following weekend. We'll figure it out. But until then, watch out for a short later on today, about in an hour. And of course, videos, shorts, live streams, all that fun stuff. Smash a freaking like on the stream, hit that subscribe, and hit the bell so you're notified every time I post a video in my pretty face. Show the recommended feed of yours. Yeah, I mean, this was a great stream. Smash a freaking like on the stream. How many likes do we have, chat? Am I going to be upset? Am I going to be upset? Oh, 103. That's not bad. I like it. Huge shout-outs to Darth Plagueis Lives and J. Dot for the very generous super chats, and Holly for becoming a member at the night tier. I appreciate it quite a bit. But until then, until next time, may the Force be with you. Always. Oh, yeah. What a great stream. What a great show. You guys are the absolute best. I appreciate you all so much more than you will ever know. This was a fun one. I love talking Star Wars, obviously, but I love talking Acolyte. I love talking Skeleton Crew. The fact that those were the last two shows we got is fan-freaking-tastic. And the time will come soon where we're going to be talking purely Andor Season 2, because that's what'll be trailers and all that crazy news. But this time in between shows is an underrated one. I like talking rumors, speculation, leaks, all that stuff. It's fun. But until then, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, great rest of your lives, and good night, everybody.